Lauren Bennett stared at the small black tray in front of her, feeling her stomach twist into knots. The white receipt sat face up, showing a number that made her want to disappear into the leather booth. $187.50. She reached for her wallet with trembling fingers, acutely aware of Thomas Crawford watching her from across the table with those kind hazel eyes that had first caught her attention on the dating app 3 weeks ago. This wasn't supposed to happen. She had checked her account that morning. There should have been enough. Just enough. But she'd forgotten about the automatic payment for her brother's internet bill, the one he needed for his online classes. "Here, let me get this," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. She slid her card into the leather folder and handed it to their server, a young woman with a polite smile who whisked it away. Thomas leaned back, his navy suit jacket hanging on the chair beside him, his white shirt rolled up at the sleeves. He looked relaxed, comfortable in this upscale Italian restaurant with its soft lighting and quiet piano music. "Dinner was amazing. I'm glad you agreed to meet me here." Lauren managed to smile. The pasta was incredible. It had been. Every bite of the butternut squash ravioli had tasted like something from a cooking show, nothing like the simple rice and beans she usually made at home. The wine had been smooth and rich. The conversation had flowed easily, moving from funny first-date stories to favorite childhood memories to dreams for the future. Thomas had been everything his profile suggested. Successful, kind, funny, and surprisingly down-to-earth for someone who owned a commercial real estate company. But now, watching the server return with a slightly apologetic expression, Lauren felt her carefully constructed composure begin to crack. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but this card was declined. Do you have another form of payment?" The words seemed to echo in the quiet restaurant. Lauren felt heat rush to her face. She could feel Thomas's gaze on her, probably reassessing everything he thought he knew about her. She pulled out her other card, the one she saved for absolute emergencies, knowing even as she handed it over that it wouldn't work either. She'd maxed it out last month when Mrs. Patterson, one of her elderly clients, had needed urgent medication that insurance wouldn't cover. 60 seconds later, the server returned with the same apologetic look. This one was also declined. Lauren wanted to sink through the floor. She'd been on plenty of bad dates before. She dealt with men who spent the whole evening talking about themselves, men who were clearly catfishing with old photos, men who made inappropriate comments. But she'd never, ever been unable to pay her share. She always insisted on splitting the bill. It was a point of pride. She started, her throat tight. She could make excuses. She could say she'd left her other card at home. She could pretend this was a banking error. But something about Thomas's patient, non-judgmental expression made her want to be honest. "I'm sorry. I can't afford this." The admission hung in the air between them. Lauren waited for the judgment, the disappointment, the awkward excuse about needing to leave. She'd gotten ready for this date with such hope, wearing her nicest dress, a deep emerald green sheath she'd found at a thrift store, still with tags attached. She'd done her hair in soft curls that framed her face. She'd even splurged on a new lipstick. Thomas didn't move for a moment. Then he reached across the table and gently touched her hand. "Hey, it's okay. Let me take care of it." "No, Lauren started to protest, but Thomas was already pulling out his wallet. "Please," he said quietly. "Would be my pleasure. I asked you to dinner. I should have made it clear from the start that I intended to pay. But I always split the bill," Lauren said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't want you to think I'm not looking for someone to. I don't think anything except that you're the most interesting person I've talked to in 2 years," Thomas said simply. He handed his card to the server, who took it with visible relief. "And I really hope this doesn't end our evening." Lauren looked down at the table, blinking back tears she refused to let fall. How could she explain that she'd taken this date as a treat to herself after weeks of double shifts? That she'd calculated exactly how much she could spend and chosen her order carefully, skipping the appetizer and the dessert? That she'd forgotten one automatic payment that had thrown everything off? When the server returned with the receipt, Thomas signed it quickly and stood up, offering his hand to Lauren. "Come on. There's a diner 2 blocks from here that serves the best coffee in the city. And I think we could both use some. Could this day get any worse?" Here was this successful, handsome, genuinely kind man offering to extend their date, and she just humiliated herself by not being able to pay. Every instinct told her to refuse, to go home and nurse her wounded pride. But something in his eyes, a gentleness mixed with hope, made her nod. "Okay," she said softly. "Coffee sounds good." As they walked out into the cool evening air, Lauren couldn't help but wonder what Thomas really thought of her now. And more importantly, why was he still here? Have you ever been in a moment so embarrassing you wanted to disappear? What would you have done in Lauren's situation? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to see how this unexpected evening transforms both their lives forever. The diner was called Rosie's, and it was nothing like the restaurant they'd just left. Red vinyl booths, checkerboard floors, and a long counter with spinning stools created a completely different atmosphere. A waitress with gray hair piled high called out, "Sit anywhere, honey," as they entered. Thomas led them to a booth near the window. Through the glass, Lauren could see people walking past, living their normal Thursday evening lives, unaware of her personal crisis. A menu appeared in front of her, plastic-coated and sticky, offering everything from pancakes to meatloaf. "2 coffees, please," Thomas told the waitress. Then he looked at Lauren. "And can we get a slice of that apple pie?" "2 forks." When the waitress left, Thomas folded his hands on the table. "I need to tell you something. That restaurant? I hate places like that. They're stuffy and pretentious, and the portions are always tiny. I picked it because I thought it would impress you." Lauren looked up, surprised. "Really? Really? My late wife, Rebecca, she loved diners like this. She said you could tell more about a person by how they treated a diner waitress than by watching them at a 5-star restaurant." He smiled, but there was sadness in it. "She passed away 2 years ago. Cancer." "I'm so sorry," Lauren said, the words feeling inadequate. "Thank you. I have a daughter, Bella. She's 7. Looks exactly like her mother, same blonde curls, same smile that could light up a room." Thomas paused as the waitress returned with 2 steaming mugs and a generous slice of pie with ice cream melting on top. "Being a single parent while running a company has been the hardest thing I've ever done." Lauren wrapped her hands around her coffee mug, letting the warmth seep into her fingers. "I can't imagine. I help take care of other people's loved ones, but having your own child depending on you for everything? That must be incredibly hard." "You're a caregiver?" Thomas asked. "Home health aide," Lauren confirmed. "I work for an agency, but most of my clients are elderly folks who need help with daily activities. Medication management, meal prep, companionship, that sort of thing. Some of them don't have family nearby, so I become like family to them." Thomas took a sip of his coffee. "That must be rewarding work." "It is," Lauren said. "It's also exhausting and doesn't pay nearly what it should. But I love my clients. Mrs. Patterson, she's 84 and has the sharpest wit you've ever heard. Mr. Johnson tells me stories about serving in Vietnam. They've lived such full lives, and now they need someone to help them maintain their dignity and independence." She picked up one of the forks and broke off a piece of pie. The crust was buttery and flaky, the apples sweet with just the right amount of cinnamon. For a moment she just savored it. "Can I ask you something?" Thomas said gently. "And you don't have to answer if you don't want to. But back at the restaurant you said you couldn't afford dinner. Is everything okay?" Lauren set down her fork. This was the moment she could deflect, change the subject, keep her struggles private. But something about the genuine concern in Thomas's voice made her want to be honest. "I'm supporting my younger brother through community college," she said. "Derek. He's studying to be a nurse. Our parents died when I was 19 and he was 13. Car accident. We didn't have other family, so I became his guardian. We've been figuring it out together ever since." Thomas listened without interrupting, his expression attentive. "I make enough to cover our rent, usually. And food. And his tuition at the community college because it's relatively affordable. But there's never anything extra. Tonight was supposed to be a treat, something just for me. I had it all planned out, but I forgot about one automatic payment and suddenly..." She gestured helplessly. "I couldn't even pay for my own dinner." "How old is Derek now?" 20. "He's in his last year at community college, hoping to transfer to a university nursing program next fall. He's brilliant, Thomas. He works part-time at a grocery store, goes to school full-time and still manages to get straight A's. I'm so proud of him." "You should be proud of yourself too," Thomas said. "You basically raised him. Gave up everything to make sure he had a future." Lauren shrugged. "He's my brother. What else was I going to do? A lot of people would have made different choices. Easier choices." Thomas took another bite of pie, then pushed the plate closer to her. "My turn to be honest. I took this date hoping to meet anyone who might understand that success isn't just about money. Rebecca used to say that true wealth was measured in relationships, not bank accounts. After she died, I threw myself into work because it was easier than dealing with the grief. But Bella needs more than a father who works 80-hour weeks. She needs someone who's present. And you're trying to change that?" "I'm trying. I hired a fantastic nanny, Mrs. Chen. She's been with us for a year and Bella adores her. I cut my hours back to 50 a week, which my business partner says is still too many. He smiled. I started saying no to clients. I started leaving work at 5 p.m. most days. And I decided to try dating again because Bella asked me if she'd ever have a mom. The vulnerability in that statement touched something deep in Lauren's chest. That must have been hard to hear. It broke my heart, Thomas admitted. But it also woke me up. I don't want to be one of those people who has everything materially but nothing that really matters. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the diner's ambient noise creating a bubble around them. An older couple at the counter laughed about something. The cook called out an order. The coffee machine hissed and gurgled. I really like you, Lauren, Thomas said finally. I know this was possibly the most awkward first date in history, but I'd really like to see you again. If you're willing. Lauren looked at him, this man who had every reason to walk away after her embarrassing moment but who had instead brought her to a diner and shared his own vulnerabilities. I'd like that too. But I need you to understand something. I can't do expensive dates. I can't do fancy restaurants or shows or anything that costs a lot of money. How about a picnic in the park? Thomas suggested. I'll bring the food. You bring yourself. And maybe we can throw a frisbee around or something equally ridiculous. Lauren laughed, the tension finally breaking. That sounds perfect. Saturday afternoon? There's a park near the waterfront with these huge oak trees. Bella loves it there. Bella's coming? Lauren asked. If that's okay. I know it's fast, but I don't want to be one of those parents who keeps their dating life completely separate from their kid. And honestly, if you and I are going to have any kind of relationship, you'd need to be comfortable around her. Lauren thought about it. Meeting his daughter on the second date was unusual. But then again, nothing about this evening had been typical. I'd love to meet her. Thomas's face lit up. Really? That's great. She's at that age where she's curious about everything and talks nonstop. Fair warning. I work with people all day. I think I can handle a talkative 7-year-old. Lauren finished her coffee, feeling more relaxed than she had all evening. Thank you, Thomas. For the coffee, for the pie, for not running away when my card got declined. Thank you for being honest, Thomas said. And for giving me a second chance to not mess this up. As they left the diner, Thomas walked Lauren to her car, an older Honda with a dent in the passenger door. If he noticed its age or condition, he didn't comment. He simply waited until she was safely inside before tapping on the window. She rolled it down. Saturday, 2 p.m., Riverside Park? I'll be there, Lauren promised. Driving home to her small apartment, Lauren felt something she hadn't felt in a long time, hope. Not the desperate hope that her next paycheck would stretch far enough, or that Derek would get through school without any major emergencies. This was different. This was the hope that maybe, just maybe, something good was about to happen. Saturday arrived with clear blue skies and temperatures perfect for a picnic. Lauren spent the morning cleaning apartments for extra cash, a side job she picked up whenever possible. By 1 p.m., she was showered and dressed in comfortable jeans and a bright red t-shirt, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. Derek was at the kitchen table studying when she emerged from their tiny bathroom. Hot date with the rich guy? He asked without looking up from his anatomy textbook. It's not like that, Lauren protested, grabbing her sunglasses. Aha. Derek looked up, grinning. He had the same dark eyes as Lauren, the same warm brown skin, the same bright smile. You've been humming all morning. You never hum. I hum. You absolutely do not hum. You're always too tired or too stressed to hum. He stood up and walked over, pulling her into a quick hug. I'm happy for you, sis. You deserve something good. Thanks, Dee. Lauren squeezed him back. There's leftover chicken in the fridge for dinner. And please study instead of playing video games all afternoon. Yes, Mom, Derek said, rolling his eyes but smiling. Riverside Park was a 20-minute drive, and Lauren spent most of it telling herself not to get too excited. This was only a second date. And yes, Thomas seemed wonderful, but she barely knew him. Plus, she was meeting his daughter. That added a whole new layer of pressure. She spotted Thomas immediately when she arrived. He was standing under one of the massive oak trees, setting up a blue and white checkered blanket. Next to him, a little girl in a yellow sundress was spinning in circles, her blonde curls flying out around her. Lauren? Thomas waved when he saw her approaching. The little girl stopped spinning and stared at Lauren with open curiosity. Are you my dad's friend? I hope so, Lauren said, kneeling down to be at eye level with her. You must be Bella. Your dad told me you like this park. I love this park. There's ducks over by the pond, and sometimes people bring bread even though you're not supposed to feed the ducks anymore because bread isn't good for them, but I like watching them anyway. Bella said all of this in one breath. Do you like ducks? I do like ducks, Lauren confirmed, charmed by the child's enthusiasm. Then you can come see them with me after lunch. Dad packed sandwiches and chips and those little baby carrots I don't really like but he makes me eat anyway and also cookies. Bella grabbed Lauren's hand unself-consciously. Come on, you have to sit next to me. Thomas shot Lauren an apologetic look over his daughter's head. I warned you she talks a lot. I think it's adorable, Lauren said honestly. The picnic blanket was already laden with food. Sandwiches wrapped in paper, a bag of kettle chips, cut vegetables with hummus, fresh strawberries, and a container of chocolate chip cookies that looked homemade. Thomas had even brought a small cooler with juice boxes and bottled water. This is amazing, Lauren said as they settled onto the blanket. Mrs. Chin helped, Thomas admitted. I can negotiate commercial leases, but apparently I cannot make a decent sandwich. They ate and talked, with Bella providing running commentary on everything from her favorite subjects in school, art and recess, to her best friend Emma's new puppy, a golden retriever named Butter. Lauren found herself relaxing completely, laughing at Bella's stories and enjoying Thomas's quiet pride in his daughter. After lunch, Bella insisted they play frisbee. Lauren hadn't thrown a frisbee in years and her first few attempts went wildly off course, which Bella found hilarious. Thomas wasn't much better, and soon all three of them were laughing so hard they could barely throw straight. I thought you said you played frisbee in college? Lauren teased Thomas after his throw landed in a bush. I said I watched frisbee in college. Very different activity, Thomas retorted, retrieving the disc. When they all collapsed back on the blanket, slightly sweaty and thoroughly entertained, Bella curled up against her father's side. I like her, Daddy, she said in a stage whisper that Lauren could absolutely hear. Me too, baby girl, Thomas whispered back. Lauren felt her heart swell. This simple afternoon, costing nothing but time and presence, felt more valuable than 100 expensive dinners. As the sun moved lower in the sky, Bella asked the question Lauren had been waiting for, can we go see the ducks now? The three of them walked to the pond, Bella skipping ahead while Thomas and Lauren followed at a more leisurely pace. She really does like you, Thomas said quietly. She doesn't warm up to everyone this fast. She's wonderful, Lauren said. You're doing an amazing job with her. There are days I feel like I have no idea what I'm doing. Like yesterday, she came home from school crying because some kid told her she couldn't have a favorite color that was for boys. She likes green, apparently that's controversial in second grade. What did you do? I told her that colors don't belong to anyone and green is a great favorite color. Then we made green pancakes for dinner. Thomas smiled at the memory. They tasted normal but she loved them. Green pancakes. I'm impressed. At the pond, Bella stood at the edge, narrating the activities of each duck as if she were a nature documentary host. And here we see the magnificent mallard, searching for snacks in the murky water. Notice his beautiful green head and orange feet. Lauren caught Thomas's eye, and they both tried not to laugh. After the duck-watching expedition, they returned to the blanket for cookies and conversation. Bella, worn out from running around, eventually fell asleep with her head on her father's lap. I should probably get her home, Thomas said reluctantly, stroking his daughter's curls. But I don't want this afternoon to end. It was perfect, Lauren said. Thank you for including me. Would you have dinner with us next week? At my place. Nothing fancy, I promise. Mrs. Chun makes this amazing lasagna, and Bella wants to show you her room. Thomas paused. I know it's fast. If it's too much, I understand. Lauren thought about all the reasons she should probably slow down. She barely knew this man. She had responsibilities. She didn't have time for a relationship. But all those practical concerns felt distant compared to the warmth in her chest and the peaceful happiness of the afternoon. I'd love to, she said. Yeah. Thomas's face lit up. Yeah. As Lauren drove home that evening, she thought about how strange life could be. A week ago, she'd been dreading the first date, worried about having enough money for coffee afterward. Now she was looking forward to seeing Thomas and Bella again, feeling like maybe she'd found something real. Derek was right. She did deserve something good. Maybe it was finally her turn. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of work and stolen moments with Thomas. They texted throughout the day, sharing funny stories and random thoughts. They had dinner at his house, where Bella insisted on giving Lauren a complete tour that included her extensive stuffed animal collection and a detailed explanation of her current art project. They went to a free outdoor concert in the park, sitting on the grass while a local band played jazz standards. Lauren felt herself falling, and it terrified her as much as it thrilled her. But reality had a way of intruding on happiness. On a Tuesday morning, Lauren found an envelope taped to her apartment door. She knew what it was before she opened it. The landlord had been patient, but there was a limit to his understanding. Notice of eviction, the header read. You are hereby notified that rent payment is 60 days overdue. Lauren stood in the hallway, the paper trembling in her hands. 60 days. That was $2,400. Plus late fees. She'd been so focused on keeping Derek in school and keeping them fed that she'd been playing catch-up with the rent, always planning to get current but never quite managing it. You okay? Derek asked from behind her. He must have heard her come in. Fine, Lauren said automatically, folding the notice and shoving it into her purse. Just some mail. But Derek knew her too well. What is it? Another bill? Nothing we can't handle, Lauren lied. How's studying going? Don't change the subject. Lauren, what's wrong? She couldn't hide it from him. They'd always been honest with each other. We're behind on rent. Way behind. I'll figure it out, okay? You just focus on your finals. How far behind? Derek. How far? His voice was firm. 60 days. Plus fees. She sat down on their worn couch, suddenly exhausted. I've been picking up extra shifts, but Mrs. Patterson needed that medication, and then you needed books for your anatomy class, and I thought I could catch up, but I just keep falling further back. Derek sat down next to her, his face pale. You paid for my books instead of rent? Your education is more important. Not if we're going to be homeless. Derek ran his hands over his face. I can drop out. Get a full-time job. Help you. Absolutely not, Lauren said fiercely. You are not dropping out. Not when you're this close to finishing. You're going to transfer to that university and you're going to become a nurse and you're going to have the life you deserve. What about the life you deserve? Derek shot back. You've been taking care of me since you were barely an adult yourself. When do you get to have something for you? Lauren didn't have an answer for that. Over the next few days she picked up every extra shift she could. She worked 14-hour days, going from one client's house to the next, barely stopping to eat. She skipped meals to save money, telling herself she'd eat at her clients' houses when they offered. Thomas noticed. Of course he noticed. They were supposed to meet for coffee at a museum, free admission day, Lauren had insisted, and she'd arrived straight from a double shift. She must have looked as exhausted as she felt because Thomas took one look at her and frowned. When did you last eat? He asked as they walked through the museum's marble halls. I had breakfast, Lauren said, which was technically true if you counted the granola bar she'd eaten at 5 a.m. What about lunch? I was busy. Thomas stopped walking and gently took her arm, guiding her to a bench in front of a large painting of a pastoral scene. Lauren, talk to me. What's going on? Nothing. I'm just tired from work. You're not just tired. You're exhausted. And you've lost weight. I can see it in your face. His voice was concerned, not accusatory. Please tell me what's wrong. Lauren looked at the painting instead of at him. Rolling green hills, sheep grazing peacefully, a farmer in the distance. It looked so simple, so uncomplicated. I'm fine. Really? Is it Derek? Is he okay? Derek's fine. Then what is it? She could feel Thomas watching her, waiting patiently for an answer. Around them, other museum visitors moved through the gallery, their voices echoing softly off the high ceilings. A group of school children shuffled past, their teacher explaining something about Impressionism. I'm just a little behind on some bills, Lauren said finally. Nothing major. Thomas was quiet for a moment. How behind? It's fine. I'm handling it. Lauren. His voice was gentle but firm. Please don't shut me out. She turned to look at him then, this man who had somehow become important to her in such a short time. His hazel eyes were full of concern and something else she was afraid to name. She could lie, protect her pride, keep the walls up. Or she could be honest. I'm about to be evicted, she said quietly. I'm 60 days behind on rent. I've been working extra shifts, but it's not enough. There's always something else that needs the money more urgently. Thomas took her hand. How much do you need? No, Lauren said immediately. No, that's not why I'm telling you. I'm not asking for money. I know you're not asking. I'm offering. Thomas, I can't. That's too much. That would change everything. It's already changed, Thomas said softly. You think I don't care about you? You think I want to sit here knowing you're working yourself to exhaustion and potentially losing your home while I do nothing? It's not your problem. Maybe I want it to be. Maybe I want to help. He squeezed her hand. Let me do this, please. Lauren felt tears prick her eyes. Pride warred with desperation. She'd always handled everything herself. She'd raised Derek, kept them fed and housed, never asked for help from anyone. But she was so tired. So incredibly tired. I also know Derek needs textbooks for next semester, Thomas continued. And before you say anything, he mentioned it when I ran into him at the coffee shop last week. He's worried about you, Lauren? He told you about the textbooks? He didn't mean to. It slipped out when he was talking about his classes. He's excited about his courses next semester. Thomas smiled slightly. He's a good kid. You raised him well. Lauren looked down at their joined hands. I don't know how to accept help. I know. But maybe it's time to learn. Before she could respond, Lauren felt a wave of dizziness wash over her. The museum gallery seemed to tilt, and her vision went spotty around the edges. Lauren? Thomas's voice sounded far away. Are you okay? She tried to answer, but the world was spinning. She felt Thomas's arms catch her as she started to fall, and then everything went dark. When she came to, she was lying on the bench with Thomas kneeling beside her, his face pale with concern. A museum security guard stood nearby, speaking into a radio. Don't try to sit up yet, Thomas said, one hand on her shoulder. The guard called for medical help. I'm fine, Lauren protested weakly. I just got dizzy. You fainted. That's not fine. Thomas's voice was strained. When did you last have a full meal? Lauren tried to remember. Yesterday? Maybe the day before? You've been skipping meals to save money. It wasn't a question. The shame of it all hit her then, lying on a museum bench in front of strangers while Thomas looked at her with those concerned eyes. She'd been so focused on keeping it together, on being strong, on handling everything, that she'd literally worked herself to collapse. I need you to let me help, Thomas said firmly. Not because you can't handle things, but because you shouldn't have to handle everything alone. And in that moment, looking up at him, seeing the genuine care and worry in his face, Lauren made a decision. Maybe accepting help wasn't weakness. Maybe it was actually a different kind of strength. Maybe it was okay to let someone care about her for once. Okay, she whispered. Okay. The paramedics arrived and checked Lauren's vital signs. Low blood sugar, dehydration, exhaustion. They recommended she eat something immediately and get some rest. Thomas stayed by her side through the whole examination, holding her hand. After the paramedics left and the museum staff had stopped hovering, Thomas insisted on taking Lauren to the museum cafe. He ordered her a sandwich, soup, and juice, then sat across from her and watched to make sure she actually ate. I feel ridiculous, Lauren said after finishing half the sandwich. The food was helping. She could feel her strength returning, her head clearing. You shouldn't, Thomas said. You've been carrying too much for too long. Something had to give. I'm supposed to be the strong one. Derek depends on me. Strength isn't about doing everything alone. It's about knowing when to accept support so you can keep going. Thomas leaned forward. Let me help with the rent. Please. Consider it a loan if you need to, something you can pay back when things are better. But don't let pride put you and Derek on the street. Lauren took a sip of juice, considering his words. It's $2,400 plus late fees. Probably close to $2,700 total. That's not a problem. It is for me. That's an enormous amount of money. Lauren. Thomas waited until she looked at him. I bought Bella a dollhouse last month that cost more than that. I spend that much on business dinners in a given week. For me, this is not a financial burden. For you, it's the difference between having a home and not having one. Let me do this. She wanted to argue, to insist she'd figure it out another way. But what other way was there? She was already working every hour she could. She'd already cut every expense possible. There was nothing left to cut, nowhere else to pull money from. And the textbooks Derek needs, Thomas continued. How much are those? About $800 for all of them. Let me cover those too. Thomas, that's me investing in a brilliant young man's education, Thomas interrupted. Derek wants to be a nurse. The world needs more good nurses. Consider it a scholarship. Lauren felt tears slide down her cheeks. She'd cried more in the past hour than she had in the past year. Why are you doing this? Because I care about you. Because I've spent the last 2 years afraid to let anyone in, and then I met you and everything changed. Because when someone you care about is struggling, you help them. That's what people do. Thomas reached across the table and wiped away her tears with his thumb. And maybe because my late wife would have done the same thing in a heartbeat, and I want to honor her memory by being the kind of person she believed I could be. The mention of Rebecca made Lauren's heart ache in a different way. She could see the love Thomas still carried for his wife in his eyes, the way it informed his actions and choices. It didn't diminish what he felt for her. If anything, it made it more real. "I don't know how to thank you," Lauren said. "You don't have to thank me. Just let me help. That's all I'm asking." Lauren thought about Derek, about how hard he'd been working, how worried he'd been about her. She thought about her clients who depended on her showing up alert and capable, not exhausted and dizzy. She thought about the possibility of actually sleeping at night instead of lying awake trying to figure out how to juggle impossible numbers. "Okay," she said finally. "But I want to pay you back. When I can, however long it takes, I want to pay you back." "We can discuss repayment terms later," Thomas said. "Right now, I just need you to promise me you'll stop skipping meals and working yourself into the ground." "I promise. And I have one more thing to suggest." Thomas looked slightly nervous, which was unusual for him. "Derek needs a job that pays better than the grocery store. My company has a mailroom and we're actually short-staffed right now. The position pays $18 an hour, which is more than he's making now. It's not glamorous work, but it's steady, and it would let him keep going to school." Lauren stared at him. "You want to give Derek a job?" "I want to offer him a job. There's a difference. He'd still have to interview with the office manager and prove he's reliable. But I think he would be. And it would help both of you." This was too much. The rent, the books, and now a job for Derek? Lauren felt overwhelmed by the generosity, by the sheer magnitude of what Thomas was offering. "I know it's a lot," Thomas said, reading her expression. "And I know this probably feels uncomfortable. But here's the thing, Lauren. I have the resources to help and you need help. For me to not offer when I easily can would be wrong. It would be me choosing my comfort over your well-being, and I can't do that." "Most people would," Lauren said. "Then most people are wrong." Thomas's voice was firm. "My father used to say that money is a tool, not a trophy. It's meant to be used to make life better, not just to sit in an account gaining interest." Rebecca believed the same thing. "We were always looking for ways to help people, to use what we had to make a difference." "And you think helping me makes a difference?" "I think you make a difference every day, taking care of people who need you, raising your brother, staying kind despite everything you've been through. Maybe it's my turn to make a difference for you." Lauren finished her sandwich, feeling steadier but emotionally raw. "Can I think about the job offer? I want to talk to Derek about it first." "Of course. There's no pressure. The position will be there whenever he's ready." They sat in the cafe for another hour talking about lighter things. Thomas told her about Bella's recent obsession with becoming a veterinarian, which had led to lengthy discussions about every animal they encountered. Lauren shared stories about her clients, the funny things they said, the unexpected wisdom they offered. When Thomas finally drove her home, he insisted on walking her to her door. The building looked shabbier than usual in the late afternoon light, the paint peeling, one of the exterior lights flickering. "I'll take care of the rent tomorrow," Thomas said. "I'll call your landlord directly if you give me the contact information." "Thank you," Lauren said, the words feeling insufficient. "I mean it. Thank you." Thomas pulled her into a hug, and Lauren let herself lean into him, accepting the comfort and support. "We're in this together now," he said into her hair. "Whatever happens, you're not alone anymore." When Lauren walked into the apartment, Derek looked up from his textbook, immediately noticing her puffy eyes. "What happened? Are you okay?" "I'm okay," Lauren assured him. "Better than okay, actually." She told him everything, watching his face cycle through surprise, relief, and uncertainty. "He wants to give me a job?" Derek asked. "He wants to offer you a job. You'd still have to interview. But yes, he thinks you'd be good at it, and it pays more than the grocery store." Derek was quiet for a long moment. "This doesn't feel right. We barely know him." "I know. But Derek, I fainted today because I haven't been eating. We're about to be evicted. We need help and someone is offering it. Sometimes you have to accept that the universe sends you what you need when you need it. Or sometimes strange men offer help because they want something in return," Derek countered. "He's not strange and he doesn't want anything except to help. I know it's hard to believe, but some people are actually good." Derek looked at her for a long moment, then sighed. "If you trust him, I trust him. When can I interview?" "What would you do if someone offered to solve all your problems? Would you accept or would pride hold you back?" The choice Lauren and Derek make here changes everything. Don't forget to subscribe to see where this journey leads, and tell us in the comments if you'd make the same choice. 2 weeks later, Lauren stood in the doorway of her apartment, holding an envelope she'd just received in the mail. "Rent paid in full" was stamped across the top of the statement. Below that, in neat handwriting, someone had written, "Next month prepaid as well." Breathe. Derek had his interview at Crawford Enterprises the day after Lauren fainted. He'd been nervous, dressed in khakis and the one button-down shirt he owned, his resume printed on paper they'd splurged to buy from the office supply store. He'd come home 3 hours later with a job offer in hand. "They started me in the mailroom, but Mr. Hayes, Dad's business partner, said there's room to move up," Derek had explained, his eyes bright with excitement. "And they're flexible with my school schedule. I told them my classes come first and they said that was fine." Now Derek was 2 weeks into the job and loving it. He came home each day with stories about the office, the people he was meeting, the things he was learning. The extra income meant they could actually buy groceries without calculating every penny. It meant Lauren could cut back to regular 40-hour weeks instead of working doubles. It meant she could breathe. Thomas had been patient, never pushing, never asking for anything in return for his help. They'd settled into a comfortable pattern of seeing each other 2 or 3 times a week. Sometimes it was elaborate dates that Thomas planned, dinners at nice restaurants or tickets to shows. Other times it was budget-friendly outings that Lauren suggested, walks along the waterfront or free museum days or picnics in the park. Today was Lauren's choice and she'd planned something special. She'd invited Thomas and Bella to her apartment for a home-cooked meal. It wouldn't be fancy, but it would be from the heart. "Is this enough garlic?" Derek asked from the kitchen, holding up a cutting board covered in minced cloves. "For my chicken pasta?" "There's never enough garlic," Lauren said, checking on the bread in the oven. "How's the salad coming?" "Done." "Are you nervous about them coming here?" "A little. This place is so small compared to Thomas's house." "If he cares about that, he's not worth your time," Derek said firmly. "Besides, you're an amazing cook. He's going to love it." The doorbell rang at exactly 6 p.m. Thomas stood in the hallway holding a bottle of wine and a bouquet of sunflowers. Bella clutched a drawing she'd made. "We brought presents," Bella announced, pushing past her father to hand Lauren the drawing. "I drew your apartment building. See? That's you in the window." The drawing showed a brown building with flowers and window boxes. They didn't actually have window boxes, but Lauren appreciated the artistic license, and a figure with dark curly hair waving. "This is beautiful, Bella." "Thank you." Lauren taped it to the refrigerator immediately. "Now come in. Dinner's almost ready." Thomas looked around the small living room, taking in the second-hand furniture, the stack of textbooks on the coffee table, the photos of Lauren and Derek on the walls. "Your home is lovely." "It's small," Lauren said. "It's cozy. There's a difference." Thomas handed her the sunflowers. "Where should I put the wine?" Dinner was simple but delicious. Chicken pasta with garlic bread, salad, and ice cream for dessert. They all squeezed around the small kitchen table, chairs bumping against each other, and somehow it felt perfect. Bella dominated the conversation, telling stories about school and asking Derek approximately 1 million questions about what it was like to work in an office. Derek answered patiently, making her laugh with descriptions of the copy machine's mysterious paper jams and the office politics of who got the last coffee in the break room. After dinner, Bella convinced Derek to show her his room, which contained exactly one poster, his desk, and a bookshelf crammed with nursing textbooks. Lauren and Thomas cleaned up the kitchen together, falling into an easy rhythm of washing and drying. "This was really nice," Thomas said, putting away the last plate. "Thank you for inviting us." "Thank you for coming. And for everything you've done. Derek loves his job. We can actually afford groceries now. It's made such a difference." "I'm glad." Thomas leaned against the counter. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure. Where do you see this going?" I mean..." Lauren paused, dish towel in hand. It was a fair question, one she'd been asking herself. "I don't know. I like you. I really like you. And Bella is wonderful. But sometimes I feel like we're from different worlds." "We're from the same world. We're just in different financial situations." "It's more than that. You have a company, a big house, resources. I'm a home health aide who was almost evicted. Those are pretty different lives." Thomas turned to face her fully. "Do you remember what you told me at the diner that first night? You said true wealth is measured in relationships, not bank accounts. You said that." Quoting your wife. "Rebecca would have loved you," Thomas said. "She would have loved your strength and your kindness and the way you love your brother. And she would have told me I was an absolute fool if I let you go because of something as meaningless as money. Money isn't meaningless when you don't have it." "Fair point." Thomas smiled slightly. "But here's what I know. I've dated a lot of people in the past 2 years. People from my social circle, people my business partner set me up with. people who had perfect resumes and impressive careers. And I felt nothing. Not a spark, not a connection, nothing. And with me? With you I feel everything. You make me laugh. You challenge me. You remind me what really matters. And Bella adores you, which is the most important thing of all. He took her hand. I'm not asking you to decide our entire future tonight. I'm just asking if you're willing to keep building this, whatever this is, and see where it goes. Lauren looked down at their joined hands. His were larger, softer from office work. Hers were smaller, rough from years of physical labor. But they fit together. I want to keep building this, she said. But I need you to understand something. I can't be with someone who makes me feel like a charity case. I need to be your partner, your equal, not someone you're rescuing. You are my equal, Thomas said firmly. You have something I'll never have. You know how to survive, how to persevere, how to find joy even when life is hard. I need that. Bella needs that. So if anything, you're rescuing us. That's a nice thing to say. It's the truth. He pulled her closer. So what do you say? Want to keep doing this? Alternating fancy dates with budget dates? Dinner at my place and dinner at yours? Building something real? Yeah, Lauren said, smiling. I do. From the other room, they heard Bella's laughter and Derek's patient responses to her questions. It sounded like family, Lauren thought. Like the beginning of something that could become permanent. Thomas kissed her then, soft and sweet, a promise of more to come. When they broke apart, Lauren felt something settle in her chest. Not quite contentment, not quite certainty, but something close to both. Later, after Thomas and Bella had gone home, Derek found Lauren on the couch, staring at the sunflowers Thomas had brought. You really like him, don't you? Derek asked. I really do. And he makes you happy? He does. Derek sat down next to her. Then I'm happy for you. You deserve this, Lauren. You deserve someone who treats you well and who wants to build a life with you. Thanks, Dee. Plus, he got me a job, so I'm kind of obligated to like him, Derek added with a grin. Lauren threw a pillow at him and he laughed. For the first time in years, the apartment felt light, filled with possibility instead of stress. Things were changing, and for once, Lauren wasn't afraid of the change. 3 months into their relationship, Thomas invited Lauren to dinner at his business partner's house. Julian's been dying to meet you, Thomas explained. He's been my best friend since college, and he says he needs to vet anyone I'm dating. That's not intimidating at all, Lauren said dryly. He's going to love you. His wife Priya too. They're good people. Julian and Priya Hayes lived in a beautiful colonial house with a wraparound porch and a garden that looked like something from a magazine. Priya answered the door wearing a blue sundress, her dark hair in an elegant twist. You must be Lauren, Priya said warmly, pulling her into a hug. Thomas hasn't stopped talking about you. Come in, please. The inside of the house was comfortable and lived in, with family photos on every surface and children's toys neatly organized in baskets. Julian appeared from the kitchen, tall and friendly with an easy smile. The famous Lauren, he said, shaking her hand. I have to tell you, I've known Thomas for 20 years, and I've never seen him this happy. Julian, Thomas protested, but he was smiling. Dinner was relaxed and fun. Julian and Priya had 2 children, both in bed by the time Lauren arrived, and they shared stories about the chaos of parenting that made Thomas and Lauren laugh. Priya was a pediatrician, and she and Lauren bonded over their shared experience in healthcare. Home health is so important, Priya said. We discharge patients all the time who need continued care at home. Good aides like you make all the difference. After dinner, while Thomas and Julian cleaned up the kitchen, Priya led Lauren to the back porch with glasses of wine. I wanted to talk to you privately, Priya said, settling into a rocking chair. Not to interrogate you or anything. I just wanted to check in. About Thomas? About you. Thomas is my husband's best friend, so of course I care about him. But I also know what it's like to date someone with significant financial resources when you don't have them yourself. Julian came from money. I came from a family of immigrants who worked 3 jobs each just to get by. Lauren sat forward, interested. How did you handle it? Poorly at first, Priya admitted. I was so determined to never let him pay for anything that I nearly went broke proving my independence. It took Julian pointing out that I was hurting both of us by refusing to let him share his resources. That a partnership means accepting help sometimes. That's what Thomas says. He's right. And he's not trying to control you or change you. He's trying to build a life with you. There's a difference. Priya smiled. I just wanted you to know that I understand some of what you're going through. And if you ever need to talk to someone who's been there, I'm here. Thank you, Lauren said, touched by the offer. The next week, Lauren invited her closest friend Cassandra over for coffee. Cassandra had been skeptical about the relationship from the start, protective of Lauren in the way only a friend who'd known you through your worst times could be. Cassandra arrived in her work scrubs, fresh off a shift at the nursing home where she worked. She and Lauren had met in foster care at age 15, and they'd been like sisters ever since. "So this Thomas guy," Cassandra said, accepting a mug of coffee. "He's for real?" "He's for real," Lauren confirmed. "And he's not trying to turn you into someone you're not? Because I've seen it happen. Rich guy dates working girl, starts trying to change everything about her. He's not like that. He respects what I do. He asks about my clients. He's interested in my life." Cassandra studied her. "You look different. Happier. Less exhausted." "I am happier. Things are better. Derek has a good job. We're not behind on bills anymore. I can actually sleep at night." "And how much of that is because of Thomas's money?" It was a fair question, and Lauren had asked herself the same thing more than once. "Some of it. But it's more than just money. It's having someone who cares. Someone who listens. Someone who makes me feel like I matter." "You've always mattered," Cassandra said fiercely. "You don't need a man to validate that." "I know. But there's a difference between knowing you matter and having someone show you every day that you do." Cassandra sighed. "I'm going to need to meet this guy. If he's going to be part of your life, I need to vet him properly." Lauren arranged a meeting for that Saturday, a casual lunch at a diner. She was nervous, knowing how important Cassandra's approval was to her. Thomas showed up exactly on time, dressed casually in jeans and a green polo shirt. Bella was at a birthday party, so it was just the three of them. Cassandra wasted no time. "So, Thomas, what are your intentions with my best friend?" "To make her happy," Thomas said simply. "To be someone she can count on. To build a life together if she'll have me. You know she's been through a lot, right? She might not have told you everything, but she's had a hard life. Lost her parents young. Raised her brother. Worked herself to exhaustion." "I know. And I admire her for all of it." "Admiration is easy. Sticking around when things get hard is different." Thomas met Cassandra's eyes steadily. "I lost my wife 2 years ago. I know what hard looks like. I'm not here for easy. I'm here for real." They stared at each other for a moment, some kind of silent communication passing between them. Then Cassandra nodded slowly. "Okay. I can work with that." She turned to Lauren. "He's better than I expected." "That's high praise from you," Lauren said, relieved. The conversation eased after that, moving to lighter topics. Thomas asked Cassandra about her work, and she told him stories about the nursing home residents that had them all laughing. By the end of lunch, Cassandra was actually smiling at Thomas. As they were leaving, Cassandra pulled Lauren aside. "He's good for you. I can see it. But if he ever hurts you, I know people who know people. You do not know people who know people. You don't know that." Cassandra hugged her. "I'm happy for you, Lauren. Really. You deserve this." That evening, Lauren and Thomas walked along the waterfront, watching the sun set over the water. The sky was painted in shades of orange and pink, reflecting off the gentle waves. "I think that went well," Thomas said, taking her hand. "Cassandra threatened to have you hurt." "I heard. I'm choosing to take that as a sign she cares." Lauren laughed. "She does. She's been my rock through everything. I like her. She's protective of you, which means she's smart." Thomas stopped walking and turned to face her. "Speaking of protection, I want you to know something. I'm in this, Lauren. Completely. I know we've only been together a few months, but I know what I feel. And I know what I want." "What do you want?" "This. You, me, Bella, Derek. A family. A real family." He cupped her face in his hands. "I love you, Lauren Bennett. I love your strength and your kindness and your laugh and the way you make every day better just by being in it." Lauren felt tears prick her eyes. "I love you too. I've been afraid to say it, afraid it was too soon, but I do. I love you." Thomas kissed her as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting them both in golden light. People walked past, but Lauren barely noticed. All she could focus on was this moment, this feeling, this man who had somehow become essential to her happiness. When they finally broke apart, Thomas was smiling. "So we're doing this, building a life together." "We're doing this," Lauren agreed. And for the first time in her life, Lauren felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. 4 months into their relationship, Thomas picked Lauren up after work looking unusually serious. "Can we talk?" he asked. "There's something I want to discuss with you." They went to their favorite diner, the same one they'd gone to on their first date. Lauren ordered coffee, suddenly nervous. Serious conversations could go either way. Is everything okay? She asked. Everything's great, Thomas assured her. But I have a proposition for you, and I want you to hear me out before you respond. Okay. Thomas took a breath. I've been watching you work these past few months. The way you talk about your clients, the care you give them, the relationships you build. You're not just good at what you do. You're exceptional. Thank you, Lauren said, not sure where this was going. You mentioned once that you'd like to become a registered nurse someday. And I've been thinking about that. You have all the natural skills. You just need the certification. He leaned forward. I want to help you get that certification. Pay for your courses, support you while you study. Lauren's heart started beating faster. Thomas, that's... Let me finish, he said gently. It's not just about the RN certification. I've been thinking bigger. What if you could start your own home health agency? Be your own boss. Set your own standards for care. Hire people who share your values. My own agency? Lauren's mind was spinning. That would take years. And money. So much money. It would take about 2 years for you to get your RN. Another year to build up experience and get the business off the ground. And yes, it would take capital. But I believe in you, Lauren. I believe you could build something amazing. Why would you do this? Lauren asked. This is huge. Because I love you. Because I see your potential. And because I have the resources to help you reach it. Why wouldn't I use those resources to help the person I love achieve her dreams? Lauren sat back in the booth, overwhelmed. This was so much bigger than help with rent or textbooks. This was someone believing in her enough to invest in her future. I don't know what to say. Say you'll think about it. I'm not asking for an answer right now. But I want you to seriously consider it. Thomas pulled out a folder from his bag. I asked Julian's wife Priya about the certification process. She wrote down some information about programs in the area. And I talked to a business consultant about what it would take to start a home health agency. It's all in here. Lauren opened the folder, seeing pages of information about nursing programs, business plans, licensing requirements. Thomas had put real thought into this. You really think I could do this? I know you could. Lauren, you're one of the most capable people I've ever met. You raised your brother while working full-time. You've built relationships with clients that go beyond just caregiving. You understand this field in a way most people don't. He reached across the table and took her hand. I'm not saying it would be easy. Would be hard work. But you're not afraid of hard work. Lauren thought about Mrs. Patterson, about Mr. Johnson, about all her clients who deserved better care than what most agencies provided. She thought about how often she'd wished she could change things, set higher standards, pay caregivers what they deserved. Can I really think about this? She asked. It's such a big decision. Take all the time you need. Just promise me you'll seriously consider it. That night, Lauren spread the information Thomas had given her across her kitchen table. Derek came home from work and found her surrounded by papers. What's all this? He asked. Thomas wants to help me become an RN. And eventually start my own home health agency. Derek's eyes widened. Seriously? Seriously? That's incredible. Derek sat down at the table. Are you going to do it? I don't know. Feels like too much. Like I'd be taking advantage. Or, Derek said slowly, it's someone who loves you wanting to invest in your future. The same way you invested in mine by working yourself to exhaustion to keep me in school. That's different. You're my brother. And he's your partner. Isn't that what partners do? Support each other's dreams? Lauren looked at her brother. When did he get so wise? When did you grow up? Around the time you started letting yourself be happy, Derek said with a grin. Seriously, Lauren. You've spent your whole adult life taking care of other people. Maybe it's time to let someone take care of you for once. Over the next week, Lauren found herself constantly thinking about Thomas's proposal. She researched nursing programs, looked up statistics on home health agencies, imagined what it would be like to run her own business. She also talked to her clients about it. Mrs. Patterson was enthusiastic. You'd be wonderful running your own agency, dear. You actually care about people. That's rare. Mr. Johnson agreed. You've got the heart for it. That's what matters most. Even Cassandra, when Lauren told her about the offer, was supportive. Girl, if someone's offering to pay for you to advance your career and start your own business, you say yes. This isn't charity. This is an investment in someone talented. 2 weeks after Thomas first made the offer, Lauren asked him to meet her at the park where they'd had their second date. It was evening, the sun setting through the oak trees, families packing up their picnic blankets. I've thought about your offer, Lauren said as they walked. A lot. And? Thomas looked nervous, which she found endearing. I want to do it. I want to get my RN certification. And I want to start an agency eventually. She stopped walking and turned to face him. But I need you to understand something. This isn't just you giving me something. This is me accepting an investment in my future that I fully intend to make worthwhile. I never doubted that. And when the agency is successful, when I'm making money and building something real, I want to pay you back. Not because I have to, but because I want to be your partner in every sense. Equal. We're already equal, Thomas said. But if it's important to you to pay me back, then okay. We can draw up an agreement, make it official. I'd like that. Thomas pulled her into a hug. I'm so proud of you. And I can't wait to see what you build. Lauren corrected. What we build. Because I'm going to need your advice, your support, your business knowledge. This is going to be a team effort. Deal. They sealed it with a kiss under the oak trees, the same trees where they'd played frisbee months ago with Bella. It felt full circle somehow, like they were building on the foundation they'd laid that day. Walking back to their cars, Thomas asked, "When do you want to start the nursing program?" "Next semester. Which gives me 3 months to prepare. I'll need to keep working part-time to maintain some income, but I can cut back my hours. I'll cover the difference in your income. And before you argue, it's part of the investment. You can't study properly if you're exhausted from work." Lauren had learned when to accept help gracefully. "Thank you. Thank you for trusting me. For letting me be part of your dreams." That night, Lauren sat down with Derek and made a plan. She'd enroll in the nursing program for the spring semester. She'd cut her work hours to part-time. She'd use her free time to study and prepare. And in 2 years, she'd have her RN license. In 3 years, she'd be opening her own home health agency. It felt impossible and possible all at the same time. But then again, a year ago she'd been facing eviction with no idea how she'd survive. Look at her now. Maybe impossible things happen more often than people thought. Maybe you just had to be brave enough to reach for them when they were offered. 6 months into their relationship, on a Saturday afternoon, Thomas asked Lauren to take a walk with him in Riverside Park. It was the same park where they'd had their second date, where Bella had spun in circles and they'd watched ducks at the pond. Lauren had just finished her first semester of nursing school with straight A's. Derek was thriving at his job and had been accepted to a university nursing program starting in the fall. Everything was falling into place in ways Lauren couldn't have imagined a year ago. The park was beautiful in the late afternoon light. Families were scattered across the grass, children playing on the playground, couples walking hand in hand. Thomas seemed nervous, which was unlike him. "Everything okay?" Lauren asked. "Yeah, great. I just wanted to talk to you about something." Thomas led her to a bench overlooking the pond. "Remember when we came here with Bella? That second date?" "Of course. That was the day I fell in love with you, even though I didn't realize it yet." Thomas smiled. "I knew that day. I knew when I watched you with Bella, so patient and kind. When you threw that frisbee into the bushes and laughed instead of getting embarrassed. When you told me about Derek and your dreams." "Why are you bringing this up?" "Because this spot means something to us. It's where we started building something real." Thomas took her hand. "Lauren, these past 6 months have been the happiest of my life since Rebecca died. You've brought joy back into my home. Bella calls you her bonus mom. Derek and I have become friends. And I've fallen completely, utterly in love with you." Lauren's heart started racing. "Thomas? Let me finish," he said, and suddenly he was sliding off the bench, kneeling on one knee in front of her. "I'm not trying to rescue you. I'm not trying to sweep in and save the day. What I'm trying to do is ask if you'll let me spend the rest of my life loving you, supporting you, being your partner in everything." He pulled out a small velvet box from his pocket and opened it. Inside was a simple, elegant ring with a single diamond that caught the light. "Lauren Bennett, will you marry me?" Lauren stared at the ring, then at Thomas's hopeful face, then back at the ring. Her mind was racing. They talked about the future in abstract terms, yes, but marriage? Already? "I know it might seem fast," Thomas said, reading her hesitation. "But I've learned that when you find someone who makes your life better in every way, you don't let them go. Life is too short and too unpredictable. I want to build a life with you, officially. I want to be your husband. I want you to be Bella's stepmom. I want us to be a family." "What about my school?" Lauren asked. "What about starting the agency?" "Nothing changes with your plans. You'll still get your RN. You'll still start your agency. The only difference is you'll do it as my wife. As part of our family." Lauren looked at the ring again. It was beautiful, understated, perfect. Just like Thomas somehow knew what she'd like without her ever saying anything. I'm still going to have student loans, she said. Even with your help, I'm going to have debt. We'll pay them off together. I'm still going to want to work. I'm not going to be a stay-at-home wife. I wouldn't want you to be. Your work is important. And I'm going to need you to understand that sometimes I'll need space. I've been independent for so long, I don't know how to be part of a couple all the time. I'll give you all the space you need. As long as you come back to me. Lauren realized she was making excuses, looking for reasons to say no when her heart was already screaming yes. She'd been independent for so long, been responsible for herself and Derek for so many years, that accepting this kind of commitment felt scary. But it also felt right. Yes, she said, tears streaming down her face. Yes, I'll marry you. Thomas's face lit up brighter than she'd ever seen it. He slipped the ring on her finger and it fit perfectly. Then he pulled her off the bench and into his arms, kissing her as people around them started clapping. When they finally broke apart, Lauren laughed. I can't believe you proposed in public. I wanted it to be somewhere that meant something to us. Plus, I figured the public pressure would make it harder for you to say no. I wouldn't have said no anyway, Lauren admitted. I love you. I want this life with you. Good, because Bella helped me pick out the ring, and she would have been devastated if you'd said no. Bella knows? She's known I was planning to propose for weeks. She's been terrible at keeping secrets, constantly dropping hints. Lauren thought back to the past few weeks, to Bella's random questions about what kind of wedding dress Lauren would like, about whether she wanted a big wedding or a small one. That's why she kept asking about weddings. Exactly. She's very excited about this. They sat back down on the bench, Lauren's hand in Thomas's, the ring catching the light every time she moved. Around them, the park continued its gentle activity, but they existed in their own bubble of happiness. When do you want to get married? Thomas asked. I don't need a big wedding, Lauren said. Something small. Family and close friends. Maybe here in the park. Whatever you want. As long as at the end of it, you're my wife. I want Derek to walk me down the aisle, Lauren said. He's been my family for so long. It should be him. That's perfect. They talked for hours, making plans, dreaming about the future. Thomas told her he'd already talked to Derek about proposing, asking for his blessing. Derek had apparently given it enthusiastically and then asked if he could make a speech at the wedding. What did you tell him? Lauren asked. I told him only if he promises not to share any embarrassing stories about you. There are so many embarrassing stories, Lauren groaned. I'm looking forward to hearing all of them. As the sun started to set, they walked back to their cars hand in hand. Thomas offered to tell Bella the good news together and Lauren agreed. When they arrived at Thomas's house, Bella was in the living room with Mrs. Chin, working on a puzzle. She looked up when they walked in, saw their joined hands and Lauren's ring and started screaming. You said yes? You said yes? We're going to be a real family? Bella launched herself at Lauren, who caught her and held her tight. I said yes, Lauren confirmed. We're going to be a family. Can I call you Mom? Bella asked, suddenly shy. Lauren felt her heart squeeze. If you want to. But you can also call me Lauren or any other name you'd like. Whatever feels right to you. I want to call you Mom, Bella said firmly. Because you're going to be my mom now. Mrs. Chin congratulated them with tears in her eyes. Mr. Thomas, you found a good one. Bella, you're getting a wonderful mother. That evening, after Bella had finally gone to bed after talking nonstop about the wedding, Thomas and Lauren sat on his back porch, looking at the stars. I never thought I'd get to have this again, Thomas said quietly. After Rebecca died, I thought that was it. One great love in a lifetime and I'd used mine up. But then I met you. I'm not trying to replace her, Lauren said. I know. And I'm not asking you to. Rebecca will always be part of my life, part of Bella's life. But there's room in my heart for both of you. Love doesn't divide. It multiplies. Lauren leaned her head on his shoulder. I'm scared, she admitted. Of not being a good enough mother to Bella. Of not fitting into your world. Of everything changing. Change is scary. But it's also how we grow. And you don't have to fit into my world, Lauren. We're creating a new world together. Our world. Our world, Lauren repeated. I like the sound of that. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, just being together. Lauren thought about everything that had brought her to this moment. The struggle, the fear, the exhaustion. But also the love, the hope, the joy. All of it had led here to this porch with this man building this future. Thank you, she said softly. For what? For not giving up on me when I couldn't afford dinner. For helping without making me feel small. For loving me exactly as I am. Thank you for letting me, Thomas said. For trusting me with your heart. For giving Bella a mother who will love her. For building this life with me. The stars shone bright above them, witness to their promises and plans. Somewhere in the house, Bella was sleeping peacefully, dreaming of weddings and new beginnings. And Lauren, for the first time in her adult life, felt like she could finally stop just surviving and start truly living. The wedding took place 3 months later in Riverside Park, under the same oak trees where Thomas had proposed. It was a small ceremony, just 30 people, exactly what Lauren had wanted. She wore a simple white dress, tea-length with lace sleeves, that she'd found on sale but that made her feel beautiful. Derek walked her down the makeshift aisle, his eyes shining with tears he was trying to hide. Bella served as flower girl, taking her job very seriously as she scattered rose petals in Lauren's path. Thomas stood at the altar in a gray suit, looking at Lauren like she was the most precious thing in the world. His best man Julian stood beside him, grinning. Lauren's maid of honor was Cassandra, who had threatened 3 separate times to object if the minister asked if anyone objected to the union, just to see the look on everyone's faces. The minister kept the ceremony short and sweet. They'd written their own vows and Lauren went first, her voice shaking slightly. Thomas, a year ago I couldn't even afford to pay for our first date. I was exhausted, scared, and convinced I'd never have time for love because I was too busy just trying to survive. But you saw past all of that. You saw me. The real me. You didn't try to rescue me or change me. You just loved me. And in doing that, you showed me that accepting help isn't weakness. That partnership isn't about being equal in resources but equal in respect and care. I promise to love you, to be your partner in all things, to be the best mother I can be to Bella, and to build a life with you that honors both where we've been and where we're going. Thomas's vows were just as heartfelt. Lauren, you brought light back into my life when I'd forgotten what light looked like. You showed me that it's possible to love again, to build again, to hope again. You've been patient with my grief, kind to my daughter, and strong enough to let me be part of your dreams. I promise to support those dreams, to be your partner in success and in struggle, to love Derek as a brother, and to spend every day showing you that you made the right choice when you said yes to me. When the minister pronounced them husband and wife, the applause was thunderous for such a small group. Thomas kissed Lauren thoroughly, and Bella cheered louder than anyone. The reception was held in a nearby community center, decorated simply with flowers and lights. Instead of a fancy catered meal, they'd ordered from their favorite diner, Rosie's. The owner had personally delivered trays of comfort food that had everyone going back for seconds. Derek's speech was both funny and touching. My sister raised me when she was barely more than a kid herself. She worked herself to exhaustion, sacrificed everything to make sure I had opportunities. And not once did she complain. Not once did she make me feel like a burden. She just loved me. When Thomas came into our lives, I was skeptical. But then I saw how he looked at her. Like she was amazing. Like she was everything. And I realized that's what she deserves. Someone who sees how incredible she is. Thomas, you're getting the best person I know. Take care of her or you'll answer to me. Thomas stood and raised his glass. I promise to take care of her. And thank you, Derek, for trusting me with that responsibility. Priya gave a toast about finding love across different worlds. Mrs. Chin told embarrassing stories about Thomas being a disaster in the kitchen. Cassandra threatened Thomas one more time just for good measure. Through it all, Lauren sat at the head table with her new husband and stepdaughter, feeling more complete than she'd ever felt in her life. When it was time for the father-daughter dance, Thomas danced with Bella first, twirling her around the floor while she giggled. Then he invited Lauren to join them, and they danced as a family of 3, Bella sandwiched between them, her laughter filling the room. Later in the evening, as things wound down, Lauren found a quiet moment with Derek on the community center's patio. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Happy. Terrified. Excited. All at once." "You deserve this," Derek said firmly. "After everything you've done for me, after all the years of putting me first, you deserve to be loved like this. I couldn't have done any of it without you, you know? Raising you gave me purpose. It made me strong. Well, now you get to be strong and happy. That's the best combination." Derek hugged her. "I'm proud of you, sis. Mom and Dad would be too." That made Lauren tear up. "You think so?" "I know so. They'd love Thomas. They'd love seeing you this happy. And they'd love that you never gave up, even when things were impossible." Inside, Thomas was looking for her. Lauren could see him through the window, scanning the room. When he spotted her on the patio, his face relaxed into a smile. "Your husband's looking for you," Derek said with a grin. "Still weird to say that. Still weird to hear it. Lauren admitted. She went back inside and Thomas immediately pulled her onto the dance floor for one last slow dance. The DJ played an old classic, something soft and romantic. "How are you doing, Mrs. Crawford?" Thomas asked, holding her close. "Still getting used to that name. But I like it. You can hyphenate if you want. Bennett Crawford. Or keep Bennett professionally. I think I'll go with Bennett Crawford. Honors both my past and my future." "Perfect." They swayed together, surrounded by the people they loved. Bella was dancing with Julian and Priya's kids. Derek was talking to Cassandra, probably plotting some kind of mischief. Mrs. Chun was packing up leftover food, insisting everyone take some home. "What are you thinking about?" Thomas asked. "About a year ago. About sitting in that restaurant, my card getting declined, wanting to disappear. If someone had told me then that a year later I'd be married to the man I couldn't afford to buy dinner with, I wouldn't have believed them. Life is strange that way." "It's perfect that way," Lauren corrected. "Every struggle, every hard moment, every time I thought I couldn't keep going, it all led here. To you. To us. To this family. To new beginnings," Thomas said, kissing her forehead. "To new beginnings," Lauren agreed. 6 months after the wedding, Lauren sat in her first class as a second-year nursing student, taking notes on patient care protocols. Her phone buzzed with a text from Thomas. "Bella made honor roll. She wants to celebrate with pizza. Your pick of toppings." Lauren smiled and texted back, "Everything but anchovies. See you at 6. Derek was thriving at university, on track to graduate with honors. He'd moved into the dorms but came home every weekend for family dinners. He and Thomas had bonded over their shared love of terrible action movies. Mrs. Patterson had passed away peacefully in her sleep 2 months ago. At the funeral, her daughter had told Lauren, "You made her last years so much better. She loved you like family." Mr. Johnson was still going strong, telling his Vietnam stories to anyone who would listen. Lauren still visited him once a week, even though she'd officially left the home health agency to focus on school. She was 1 year away from her RN certification. Thomas had already connected her with a business consultant to start planning the agency. They'd even picked out a name, Bennett Crawford Home Health, a name that honored her past and their future. Bella had fully embraced calling Lauren Mom. She'd also started telling everyone at school that her mom was going to be a nurse and start her own business, with the kind of pride that made Lauren's heart swell. The house they all shared was full of noise and laughter and love. Thomas had insisted Lauren move in before the wedding, and Derek had gotten his own room there too. The space that had once been empty and quiet now echoed with Bella's chatter, Derek's music, and the general chaos of a blended family figuring things out. It wasn't always perfect. There were disagreements about parenting styles, about finances, about schedules. There were moments when Lauren felt overwhelmed by her new responsibilities as a wife and mother while still being a student and maintaining her friendships. But through it all there was love. Constant, steady, unwavering love. On a Sunday afternoon, the whole family gathered in the kitchen. Thomas was attempting to make pancakes. They were slightly burnt. Bella was setting the table, with approximately 50% of the silverware in the right places. Derek was making coffee, the only thing anyone could reliably cook. And Lauren was sitting at the island, studying but also supervising. "Mom, are these forks or spoons?" Bella asked, holding up both. "Forks go on the left, spoons on the right," Lauren reminded her. "But what if someone wants to eat pancakes with a spoon?" Bella asked seriously. "Then they can switch them around," Thomas said, flipping a pancake that landed half on the griddle, half on the stove. "Dad, you're making a mess," Derek observed. "I'm making breakfast. There's a difference." "Barely," Derek muttered, but he was smiling. Lauren looked around at her family, her people, her life, and felt gratitude wash over her. This wasn't the life she'd planned. It was better. It was real. It was messy and complicated and absolutely perfect. "What are you smiling about?" Thomas asked, noticing her expression. "Just thinking about how far we've come." "We've come pretty far," Thomas agreed, coming over to kiss her. "But we've got a lot further to go." "Together," Lauren said. "Always together," Thomas promised. Bella started singing a song from school. Derek joined in, off-key and enthusiastic. Thomas attempted to harmonize, which only made it worse. And Lauren, surrounded by the family she'd built through love and trust and the courage to accept help when it was offered, joined in too. Outside, the sun shone bright on their neighborhood. Somewhere, people were struggling the way Lauren had struggled a year ago. Somewhere, someone was working themselves to exhaustion, convinced they had to do it all alone. Lauren hoped they'd find their own version of help. Their own person who would see them, truly see them, and offer support without strings. Because everyone deserved that. Everyone deserved love and partnership and the chance to build something beautiful. As for Lauren Bennett Crawford, former home health aide, current nursing student, future business owner, wife, mother, sister, friend, she'd found all of that and more. And she was never, ever taking it for granted. The burned pancakes got eaten anyway. The coffee was strong and perfect. Bella's table setting was creative if not technically correct. And in that kitchen, on that Sunday morning, a family that had been built from separate pieces of heartbreak and hope and second chances was simply beautifully together. And that was everything.